let's get it twisted. Let's go. Let's do it, baby. Let's do it. Let's go live. I'm gonna blast off right now, and then ice bags down in Minneapolis. AOC. Oh, well, okay. Jesus Christ. I was just talking about.
Little Valentine's Day.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, you love it. You love it.
That's crazy.
Major news from Minneapolis, where border czar Tom Homan has announced ICE is pulling out of the city. Homan says they've arrested thousands in the surge operation, while local officials are still demanding investigations into the deaths of 2 American citizens there. And that is the backdrop of the fight on Capitol Hill. Democrats say they want accountability for ICE tactics, and they are holding up a funding bill because of that. It could mean a partial DHS shutdown starting at midnight tonight. Caitlin Huey-Burns is on Capitol Hill. Caitlin, good morning.
This is not a real shutdown on any of the cool stuff, unfortunately. This is the old playlist. Oh.
Lawmakers left Washington this week without a deal to fund the Department of Homeland Security. Democrats want major reforms to the way immigration officers operate following the deaths of 2 Americans in Minnesota.
Yeah, Democrats actually aren't demanding that. I wish they were, but their demands are definitely totally watered down, unfortunately. Not only are their demands totally watered down, but like this DHS shutdown is not a real shutdown. It's a partial shutdown, and a partial shutdown on none of the evil aspects of the DHS, but the aspects of the Department of Homeland Security that basically, make travel work, like the TSA and things like that.
Amid those tense protests in the Twin Cities. This week, border czar Tom Homan announced the conclusion of a federal crackdown in Minneapolis. Willie James Inman has more from West Palm Beach, Florida. Willie, good morning.
Adriana, good morning to you. The Office of Management and Budget says that DHS is preparing for an orderly shutdown following that lapse in funding.
TSA agents will be among the thousands of essential workers required to continue working without pay after government funding for DHS lapsed early Saturday.
I've seen a lot of people that have been working for TSA for 22, 23 years already, and they've seen so many of these shutdowns.
Robert Echeverria has worked for the TSA for nearly a decade.
In the last shutdown, a lot of my peers couldn't go through that, and we had a lot of people quit because they couldn't go through the struggle and trying to figure out where they were going to get the next paycheck from.
Both parties have been negotiating reforms to ICE and CBP for weeks, but have failed to reach an agreement. Among the Democrats' demands, immigration officers would be banned from wearing face coverings, required to display ID, and wear body cameras.
Unfortunately, it appears that Democrats are barreling our government towards another shutdown for political and partisan reasons.
I wish they did. I wish they actually used the existing funding vehicle power that they have to push for a shutdown, so that they could actually get some concessions from the Republicans. But they didn't actually do that. They did a piecemeal coverage over all of these other areas. And they're not even shutting down the Department of Homeland Security, even though it's being presented as such. The ICE activities will continue because they already fucking paid for it ahead of time with like tens of billions of dollars, right? It sucks that it's not even a real, like, this is just going to be a nuisance and an inconvenience and horrible for all the people that work at the DHS at the the Department of Homeland Security side, the TSA side of things. But it's very frustrating.
The White House has been very much engaged with Democrats in serious discussions and negotiations over immigration enforcement policy.
This week, the White House
TSA is useless. Man, it doesn't matter. It's gonna ruin travel. A lot of you guys don't understand. Like, you're falling for it. It's going to greatly slow down travel. A lot of people that work for the TSA are going to have, they're going to have to be put on furlough. Like, it's going to suck.
Its latest proposal to Democrats, but officials did not give specifics about the plan.
So it's my expectation that at some point, Democrats in the House and the Senate jointly will respond to the latest unserious offer formally, and then it will once again be in the hands of Donald Trump and Republicans to decide what's next.
Along with the TSA, the funding lapse will impact other agencies under DHS, including FEMA and the Coast Guard. But ICE and Customs and Border Protection operations will continue after their funding was secured in the One Big Beautiful Bill last year.
Separately, President Trump is pushing lawmakers to support legislation that would call for voter ID. Posting in a True Social post, he said, if we can't get it through Congress, there are legal reasons why this scam is not permitted. I will be presenting them shortly in the form of an executive order. Adriana?
After weeks of unrest in Minneapolis.
ICE needs to be dramatically reformed. Period. Full stop.
The showdown escalating as 2 ICE agents are now on administrative leave under federal criminal investigation over whether.
If you don't know about TSA PreCheck, rich people pay extra and basically see up security. God. It took me years and interviews to get fucking global entry and TSA PreCheck. It's actually like $100, I think, which can be a lot for people, like $100 extra. But if you're traveling a lot for your job, it's totally worth it. There's plenty of people who probably have it, except the federal government, the state, the Department of Homeland Security took mine away. So I can't even get fucking TSA PreCheck. I had it and I never even was able to use it.
They lied about a shooting in Minneapolis. That incident happening just 1 week after the fatal ICE shooting of
I'm sorry that I fucking hurt the feelings of Israel, the most important, most consequential country on the fucking planet. And as a consequence of that, I got, I had my fucking TSA PreCheck removed.
Good. An ICE agent had shot and wounded a Venezuelan national. At the time, DHS accused the man of ambushing an agent and fleeing to a nearby home as they carried out a targeted traffic stop. But an FBI affidavit now casting doubt, suggesting the man wasn't even in the car that was stopped. In this harrowing video, you can hear children crying as a woman tells the 911 dispatcher in Spanish the agents followed a man home and shot him in the leg when they tried to close the door. Democrats demanding reforms, including banning ICE agents from wearing masks, requiring body cameras, and mandating warrants signed by a judge before making arrests. But Republicans pushing back.
We always have to protect our law enforcement. It's very important. They've done a great job.
So what actually changes here? Because TSA agents, FEMA crews, as well as the Coast Guard, they will keep on working even if they're not getting paid. But guys, if this drags on for several weeks, that's when you could start to feel it with potential disruptions to travel and even to disaster relief. ICE, though, Gio, they will continue operating. They've got all of the funds that they need after.
That's the key part of the story, is that ICE is already so super funded that they can pretty much continue business as fucking usual. That's actually one of the key, in my opinion, one of the key demands from the Democrats should have been clawing back some of this funding in the same exact way that the Republicans took out the IRS funding, right?
A $75 billion boost from President Trump's mega bill.
At an army base in North Carolina last night, Iran was on Donald Trump's mind. The president suggesting to his troops that fear of America would help persuade Iran to abandon its nuclear program.
Sometimes you have to have fear because that's the only thing that really will get the situation taken care of.
And by sending a second aircraft carrier to the Middle East, he's hoping that.
Like, think about what our priorities are, what our funding priorities are. It's never fucking feeding the hungry. It's never building housing. It's never rebuilding our infrastructure. It's always this. It's ICE, Gestapo operations, Gestapo kidnapping operations that occupy American cities, and aircraft carriers being sent to Iran so we can fucking defend Israel and attack Israel's enemies. It's so ridiculous. This is contradictions worsening. If you cannot fucking comprehend in this moment, if you cannot understand the opportunity there is for organizing in this moment to wake people up to the reality, the design that America represents, I fear we're not going to make it. Hey, new to Twitch, why is Hasan's in-screen chat different to this one? Is it subs? No, I'm using a special program to look at chat better.
Fear will increase. the USS Gerald Ford sailing from the Caribbean, fresh from helping in the capture of Venezuela's President Maduro. It could take weeks for this carrier to arrive. But Mr. Trump's officials say the US is preparing for a sustained military operation.
That's crazy. Like, think about that. Think about that. No, we're going to war with Iran, whether you like it or not. Sorry. We're going to fucking war with Iran. You're going to sit there and you're going to like it. Amazing.
And the president was asked.
By the way, we're doing it for Israel. Just so you understand, we are doing this entirely for Israel. Right? We're doing it for oil too, but we're mostly doing it for Israel.
If regime change is what he wants.
Well, it seems like that would be the best thing that could happen. For 47 years, they've been talking and talking and talking. In the meantime, we've lost a lot of lives while they talk. Meantime, we have tremendous power has arrived, and additional power, as you know, another carrier is going out shortly. So we'll see it how if we could get it settled for once and for all, that would be good.
Last June, US stealth bombers flew all the way from Missouri to attack Iranian nuclear sites. But the planning for another possible strike is said to be more complex, with a wider set of state and security targets. Last year, the Iranians responded by launching a limited ballistic missile attack on a US base in Qatar. The Americans are preparing for more retaliation this time around, but they still say they hope force won't be required. And Israel's Prime Minister told Mr. Trump this week that scrapping Iran's ballistic missiles must form part of any peace deal, along with its support for...
Yeah, he got Benjamin Netanyahu came into the United States of America, got all of his laundry cleaned with taxpayer funds, and then also ran his dick through the entire process. And now we're sending another fucking... we're just sending another aircraft carrier. Fantastic. I mean, they're literally moving like we're going to war with Iran, like permanent war with Iran. I personally think the repercussions for such a devastating act will destroy this country. I think it's over. I think this is, I don't think the American society can withstand another fucking endless global war on terror scheme. I think it will destroy this country. And hopefully the impact of that death and destruction won't be as severe for America's enemies and even the good people of this country that just simply want to do better but are powerless to do so. What is this? I think they vastly underestimate modern tech and ally support versus those carriers. I'm telling you, man, I think if America and Israel think that they can just like keep doing this, I think we're going to learn a very tough lesson. We are going to learn a very, very hard lesson, a very costly lesson. Okay? There were smaller versions of this lesson that was not as costly with the Houthis. I don't know if Trump will do it because he hasn't, he's Mr. More War, but he has so far shied away from doing long military operations like this. His style is different. It's like go in and out, be explosive, be crazy, destroy the previous established norms, but like go in and out with a swift operation. No like permanent military installations, no permanent military occupation that slowly but surely chips away at his popularity, stuff like that. This is definitely different. I mean, the way he's moving here is definitely different.
Armed groups.
I said that if a deal is indeed reached, it must include the elements that are very important from Israel's perspective. And I believe not just Israel's. It's not just the nuclear issue, it's also ballistic missiles and Iran's proxies. That was the substance of the conversation.
Last week, indirect talks with the Iranians in Oman were led by Chief Negotiator Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, the president's son.
I wonder what the Israeli calculation here is, though, because like I don't think Israel can deal with being pummeled by Iranian hypersonics, right? So it is giving Adolf Hitler blitzkrieg strategy, where they're just like, oh, we just unload everything quickly and we let it all burn down, and there won't be time to retaliate. And hopefully there will be regime change or something, maybe like a decapitation strike. But it is pretty wild to not factor in the repercussions for Israel in general. Because I don't think America has experienced retaliation that is significant enough for them to recalculate, right? That's never really happened. You go to Afghanistan, you go to Iraq. There's never been a moment where you've been forced to stand down. Whereas I think with Iran, a much larger version of what took place in Yemen, a much longer version of what took place in Yemen could potentially happen. A country that has hardened its defenses specifically against this, the unthinkable, permanent military occupation by the United States of America, it's a very different ball game. Iran did nothing the last two times, so Trump learned nothing. That's not true, though, because while we think, oh, Iran didn't really do too much, you have to remember they did do shit, okay? They punished Israel pretty severely. They actually hit Israel so hard that I assumed it would recalculate Israel's tactics and its appetite for doing any sort of like decapitation strike on Iran. They were able to deplete the Iron Dome. That's insane. They were able to show that the Iron Dome and the aero defense systems were not as well equipped to stop a barrage of missile strikes coming from Iran as they previously thought they would be able to. And this is without even like mining the Strait of Hormuz and shutting it off in its entirety to global commerce. This is without using the nuclear option for Iran, which is not a nuke, obviously, but like lighting the oil refineries on fire. Like things, if American military might is able to withstand this stuff, then it's fine, right? Their calculation is we have the tools, we have the logistics, we have the supply chain, we have the endless amount of munitions to continue punishing Iran. We can be swift, we can go in and out, we can kill the Ayatollah, all this stuff. Maybe that's their calculation, and we can cause panic in Iran. So much so that they don't have like a contingency plan, a next day after plan where they can get the IRGC together and continue, bombing. Like they think they can pull a Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah assassination on the entire Iranian country. And I'm not so certain they would be able to do that. AOC slams Rubio's Munich speech as cultural nostalgia amid alliance debate. Okay, this is where it gets pushed in. This is where the pedal touches the metal, okay? Because this is going to be the clear-cut juxtaposition between Marco Rubio's representation of like the old way of doing business versus what AOC represents as a charting a new path forward. Let's see.
We heard this morning was in
sure,
truth,
you might be the kingmaker.
not too much in substance a departure of what JD.
What? 1-7 to 116 release 212 Democratic voters? No, this is before I ever said anything about Gavin Newsom. What are you talking about?
What I'm faced with right now is that
rank and file Dems the leaders. It's time to take the gloves off. AOC plus 78, Pete Buttigieg plus 68, Gavin Newsom plus 66, Kamala Harris plus 64, Gretchen Whitmer 55, Pritzker 51, Andy Bashar 48, Joe Biden 46, Josh Shapiro 46, Hakeem Jeffries plus 40, Chuck Schumer plus 1. It's fucking crazy. It is crazy, dude. I mean, it's just like the fact that it's like Pete Buttigieg is up here and even above Gavin is pretty wild. But the clear difference between AOC and everybody else for the Democratic base, the rank and file, shows that it's hers for the taking at this point.
right? I mean,
And Gavin has been trying so fucking hard to appeal.
Vance's arguments were last year, which is enforcing a U.S.-European alliance that is rooted in a cultural norm, a cultural nostalgia. But there was very little that was said about how that will materially benefit populations, both in the United States and in Europe.
Clean up here, I would say working class. I think we must not shy away from setting a line of demarcation between our way of politics and their way of politics. And if that actually alienates establishment Democrats, that's all the better. Clear-cut approach here would be to say working class, things like that. I think like imperialism is another word that you can add to your language, because any kind of socialist Marxist terminology, any kind of terminology that revolves around this is like going to be something that a lot of people don't want to touch. Yeah, no ABC theorist bullshit. We need politicians to keep bringing up class, like you said. I think saying working class is good. It's like I'm not super aggressive on utilizing theory-focused language. I don't do that at all. I personally shy away from that in my commentary as well. Having said that, I think it's important. I think it's important to do that, especially now when you are looking to present yourself as the alternative. So you do come from an activist background, right? And that obviously the fuck.
Yes, I think in Secretary Rubio's remarks, he spoke greatly about the border, I think, in order to prevent speaking about the true elephant in the room, which is...
Chatter, theory-focused language to the masses who don't read is so silly. I said working class. I didn't say proletariat or bourgeoisie. I said... I say, international finance capital, international conglomerates, the owning class. These are things that you can say that are Americanized versions, like or anglicized versions of these other words that are not fucking theory laden. Okay.
Job is the job, right? You show up.
There's a difference.
With a clear vision, desire to bring change. You bring your skills.
And I do believe that when we have eras of extreme inequality, eras of where the working class is continuing to suffer, they're seeing their life erode, it becomes extremely easy for authoritarians to blame other cultures and other people.
I don't like authoritarians either as a language. I like fascists. I think fascism is a better way to communicate where we're at here.
Life erode, it becomes extremely.
But I like that she said working class here.
For authoritarian.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing that I think is like
synonymous or is more symbolic.
Is another. Because authoritarian doesn't necessarily mean anything. And from a liberal perspective, when someone says authoritarian, like liberals see that as like China, everybody else, right? Like they think, oh, she means like China. It could be even, you can say even Cuba is authoritarian, right? Like that's what has been historically mentioned. No, this is not nitpick. This is not nitpick. This is very important. Language is very important, especially in this moment. I think language is incredibly important here because, once again, after yesterday's speeches, a lot of people listened to what AOC was talking about, and some people understood it as like, oh, she is taking an internationalist approach, but many more thought, oh, she's doing, and myself included, in certain instances, thought maybe she's like going back to vulgar Brandonism, right?
People, right? And so whenever you're dealing with people, you're going to be confronted with just certain idioms that
especially when her goal is to obviously cut away from establishment Democrats and Republicans, not using their language, not using their terminology, puts an unambiguous line in the sand at a time when that lack of ambiguity is going to work. Vulgar Brandonism, I mean, that's like a joke that I use it as a joking substitute for NATO Atlanticism, like what Biden represented after Trump won. Biden was saying we're going to go back to business as usual. We're going to go back to shepherding in the liberal international order. And it was an abject fucking failure, obviously, because Russia invaded Ukraine. And then that was a huge fuck up. And then on top of that, Israel's genocide of Gazans, of Palestinians in Gaza, that happened so close to one another that like it directly ripped apart that fabric. It directly ripped apart this like understanding that the liberal international order is gone, right? Playing a role in undermining the goals that you're trying to accomplish for the most part. I don't know if you would say that's a fair assessment. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, one of the major...
Daniel Bessner likes to reject the label fascist when describing the American right, arguing it's just liberalism. I think that's abandoning a potent word that people understand intuitively. No, when you're talking about foreign fascist movements rising up, I think fascism is the appropriate statement to use here. And the reason why I say that is because it is what that is. Liberalism is, at this point, losing control. And as liberalism withers away, fascism is fascism is what presents or represents control when liberalism is unstable. So I do think that maybe in the old ways, maybe a decade prior, sure, you could say liberalism, but I think nowadays it's appropriate to use fascism.
To blame other cultures and other people who are most vulnerable. Now, we have to always make sure that our immigration system is orderly.
Between you and I guess, but the media has not been so kind to me, even though I thank Barack Obama all the time. What is this fucking video, man? Calm down.
On Greenland, I think that the president, my concern is that the president's oftentimes, as of late, the president's actions on foreign policy, and particularly his most erratic decisions, the unacceptable threatening of Greenland, happen to be tied to his domestic politics and when he feels threatened domestically. And I believe that's a relationship that...
I don't even necessarily agree with that aspect of it too. I think there's a much large... If you read the national security paper that came out that spelled out the Donroe Doctrine, me and Yanis Varoufakis are in agreement on this. This is like one of the areas that we have direct agreement on, which is that there is a method to this madness. The idea that this is simply a response to like domestic pressures, the Epstein files or whatever, I don't think it's correct. I think that the Trump administration, whether we want to admit it or not, whether we like what he's doing or not, and obviously we don't like what he's doing, it comes across as disruptive, but there is a driving principle behind it, okay? It's not necessarily a scale back of American imperialism around the globe, but more so a hardening
certain targets on his head that
its closest territorial ambitions. It's not... They're not doing this because it's like, oh, Epstein, let me go fucking invade Greenland. Like, I know that that's what it comes across as sometimes, but this is something that was implemented. Like, this vision is being implemented right now, but it's a vision that is a vision that was very calculated far before Trump even got into office. It's more so to scale back on some of our global ambitions in an effort to dominate the globe better, if that makes sense. Hardening our own neighborhood, our own backyard almost, and the surrounding areas, so that we can be better equipped to continue maintaining, hegemonic superpower status. Yeah, a fortress play, if you want to think about it like that,
is something that Americans see play out.
But there was another one that we were pushing for called the corporate head tax. Essentially, it's a tax on big corporations that have more than a certain amount.
Trump is anything but calculated. This is a mistake. To think this is a major mistake.
We're talking about 0.5%
okay,
of the
because this isn't Trump.
So we're talking about a handful of corporations that would have.
This isn't just Trump. This is a grand. This is a larger vision that Trump is simply the vessel to bring about. Like he's not. It's not Trump making these decisions. It's people around him. Trump just happens to be the guy who is overseeing the project and maybe crazy enough to follow through on the project and can hold like a cohesive. He has the power to basically hold the base together for as long as he can while they implement this vision. Heritage Foundation, all the other billionaires did not have to line up behind a convicted felon, but they did. Liberals, for some reason, like to think all these billionaires are just too scared of Trump, and that's why they want to appease him. I think they want him, and they do have a plan. Trump may be a dumbass, but the people behind him are not. Exactly. If you listen to more sober analysis from hardened fucking policy people around the globe, okay, they will tell you this.
80% of Chicagoans said that
they will tell you that Donald Trump is simply enacting a somewhat different agenda than what people are used to. It's certainly a different agenda than like liberalism, like liberal NATO Atlanticism, the rule-based international order. It's different than that. It's there's a transition taking place here. Just like one of the two major liberal parties, the Republican Party, is transitioning out from being a liberal party to a post-liberal party, a fascist party.
We've been spending the last couple of days reassuring our friends, talking about our mutual shared interests, and that Americans back home actually want to be a force for good in the world. We don't want to be a bully. Yes, we want strength and we want peace, but we don't want to be extorting and bullying our friends. We want to be a force for good. We need a national security and foreign policy that looks like a kinetic strike against Iran often has the exact opposite response than we want, right? If the goal is to support the people of Iran in their aspiration for freedom and democracy and sovereignty, which is what they are yearning for and what they are protesting and mobilizing for right now, then we have to listen to the people of Iran. And what's very clear and what we have seen, the pattern is that when we've interfered in that recently, that has had the opposite effect, right? It actually has created a rally around the flag effect in Iran and emboldened the regime.
Wow.
Has used his wealth and his influence to undermine.
Jason Crow is an APAC dog. Terrible. Colorado needs better left policies, in my opinion. I mean, he's not wrong, though.
Try to strike a balance because
he's not. When I say it, people say I'm dick riding. I'm fucking serving the Ayatollah.
My party has to own that. I have to own that as governor. Look, I think one of the things that's self-evident is this economy is not working for enough people. We could talk about growth, but we don't talk enough about inclusion. I think it was Plutarch who said, maybe it was 50 AD, look it up. But about over 2,000 years ago, Plutarch warned the Athenians by saying the oldest and most fatal ailment of all republics is the imbalance between the rich and the poor. Fast forward today, we're talking about the first trillionaire. I live in a state, I mean, exhibit ABC, Your Honor. And we have to address that. And we haven't.
Do we? Yo, I cannot believe this motherfucker, the audacity. Yeah. Hey, yo! Mister, we mustn't tax the billionaires, otherwise they'll leave the fucking state. Are you serious right now? Are you for real? And I'll admit, that's crazy. This is why he's a goddamn shark, okay? Oh my lordy, he's such a fucking shark. Or as Brandon would call him, a dog-faced pony soldier. Why?
The system is broken for too many people. In my country, 10% of people own 2/3 of all the wealth. In my country, if you're 30 years old and you talk about populist movements, you talk about young folks and the nihilism that we're experiencing increasingly, at least in my country, and I think in other parts of the globe, particularly young men, which is a challenge, a unique challenge, young men, the crisis of young men and boys. If you're 30 years old today, for the first time in American history, you're doing worse than your parents' generation. That's code red. So in an environment like that, you're done with the two parties. You're looking for something different. You're looking to, in the vernacular of those old enough, to scratch the old record, shake the machine. And Trump understands it. Bernie Sanders in American politics understands that as well. So how can we drive this sort of populism, the progressive values, but around the kind of results that people deserve? But we've got to own the problem. It's not good enough just to identify the problem. We've got to own the solutions at the same time to the problem.
For example, by way of talking to a governor like you, such an impressive governor who runs the 5th largest economy of the world, California, of course, and I think...
Yeah, 17 days ago, not even a month ago, wealth tax would cause California's rich to flee, Newsom warns.
The security comes from the investments. And so that's
isn't endangered by this federal law, and what should we do about it if not a wealth tax?
Yeah, HR 1 is a disaster. I mean, just talk about your kids and grandkids. Saddling up with debt, burden, interest rates, instability. I mean, I saw the same Besant guy would say, well, the deficit's down a couple. He didn't even mention the costs of the big, beautiful bill and how that's going to impact the debt. And
so what do we if not?
This is about the budget reconciliation, so I don't know why he's...
and violence.
Right.
We talked about this war on poor people. I've said this recently.
I don't think he's...
The United States of America has declared war on poor people.
Asking the richest among us to pay. What do we do?
Well, we do. California has the most progressive tax structure in the United States of America.
There are billionaires who are sitting on equity who don't sell it.
We have
who are paying a lower
billionaires
tax rate.
that are paying those progressive taxes. We have the highest progressive tax rate in the United States of America. I long believe in that. I did say a state of the state, arguing in favor of it, and it should in many ways be a model for reforms that we need to see federally. That said, I fear the way this has been drafted. And I'm old-fashioned. I actually seek first to understand before I'm understood. Sometimes. And I was burdened by the facts. The fact is, it actually will reduce investments in education. It will reduce investments in teachers and librarians, childcare. It will reduce investments in firefighting and police. The impact of a one-time tax does not solve an ongoing structural challenge that has been exacerbated by the impacts of HR 1. In fact, what it will do is what the Legislative Analyst's Office said it would do, which didn't surprise any of us when they put that out. You would have a windfall one time, and then over the years, you would see a significant reduction in taxes because taxpayers will move. And that is what I fear at a state level.
Wow, really reinventing the wheel here. Why we can't do more taxation. Why we can't do any additional taxes on the super duper wealthy. Why? They'll leave. Oh my God. I had not heard that one before. That's crazy. I just did not, I could not fathom a world in which that could happen. Okay, exit tax him then. Yet another HasanAbi glaze. How it felt seeing the man who's been screaming in my ear every day for the last 5 years IRL. He's taught me more than he can ever know. So proud of how far the movement has come. Hell yeah. 15,000 likes. Let's go. Wow, he actually wore a form-fitting suit and not a giant 1980s fit. Good job, Hasan. He's still going to be hot when he's old. God damn, he's the most beautiful man I've ever seen. He screamed at one of my chats one time. Okay. We're back, baby. We're back. We're freaking back. We're kind of back, dude. Self-jerk on Valentine's Day? Listen. Yes. People ask me, who is your Valentine? Okay? It's all of you. It's the working class. That is who I am committed to. Okay? That's what it is. The endless love that I have for workers all around the world. It's for you, the chatters. Okay? That's what I'm committed to. That's who I am in a committed relationship with. Next time, don't wear a scuba suit for a speech, okay? A scuba suit. Oh, yeah? Then why don't you fuck all the workers? That's crazy. That's insane.